I met Christian in early 2008 after relocating to the Bay Area. He had replaced a bass player in a band I was playing in at the time called Awori. Christian joined the band and he became a person that I could always rely on for gigs and bass and engineering, and over the years we did a ton of projects together. At the beginning of the pandemic, we were both in lockdown, I myself in San Francisco and Christian in Mexico. I had just discovered the Spire app and he was looking for something to play and mix with. So I just sent him some of the beats that I was working at, and then he sent the beats back to me and we kind of built songs from there.
I didn't really think much about the drum track. It was just an audio that Art sent me because, you know, we were all bored and really working. So I heard the drum track, I liked the groove, and I played a guitar line. The guitar line came out in like 10 minutes. And I sent it back, like just the guitar and the drums, to Art. And Art was like, he got excited. He's like, finish the song. And I just started fleshing out the song. And before you know it, you know, it didn't take me long to have essentially the instrumental parts for Pearl.
I started working with Tobias about 5 or 6 years ago in the band Matador. After that project had ended, we had always kicked around ideas of working with each other. Along comes a pandemic. Christian and I are sharing files back and forth. And I knew Toby was itching to put his voice to something. And I knew he would have a blast just singing wherever he could find the space to do so, which Spire allowed us to do.
When I got this track, I was curious. I hadn't heard from Art for a long time. And I just love Art. I love Art's work. So I was like, okay, this could be something cool. When I listened to the track, it immediately hit all my like little spots. It got all the juicy bits in me. You know, the darkness, the sadness, the sweetness, the groove, the chorus, and it was short. And I automatically started to hear melodies in my head. It's like instant inspiration, which is something I hadn't experienced in a long time.
The next step was first a lot of Zoom meetings, planning what we needed to do, when we were going to be able to do it, what songs to include on the record, because now we had 30 songs to choose from. And the next step for me was essentially building a studio from scratch in an old Mexican hacienda, 300-year-old hacienda.
Que Christian me invitara fue emocionante para mí. Cuando me muestra las canciones, leí estas canciones con llenas de tonos y llenas de cambios y voló mi cabeza totalmente, porque tuve que aprender muchas cosas que tenía olvidadas musicalmente. El grado de confianza que depositaron mis compañeros y Christian principalmente y Sylvia me ayudaron a esforzarme más y tener un poco más de participación en el disco, lo cual fue grande. Es una situación de mucho orgullo para mí que mi participación haya gustado, y es un honor pertenecer a esta banda. Cuando Christian me comenta que Sylvia Massy iba a ser la productora del disco, no lo podía creer. El saber que una persona de esa talla internacional, el haber grabado a tantos artistas históricos, fue increíble. Verla hacer su magia es algo que pocos tenemos el honor de lograr. Y yo estuve ahí. Es una persona increíble. ¿Qué más puedo decir? Es Sylvia Massy.
Why Sylvia Massy? Well, she has this, you know, amazing style that's just authentic, deep, perfect, brilliant, creative. And I had worked with her previously with a Girlfriend Experience quite a long time ago. And, you know, just to the idea of working with Sylvia again has always been like one of my bucket list deals, you know. I mean, you can't get much better than that, you know. And So, when I talked to Christian about Sylvia, we both got super turned on. And, there was a couple of other people mentioned, but Sylvia was number one.
First of all, working with Sylvia was a dream. It was definitely one of my bucket list things to do. Her resume is enormous. She's a super successful producer. Videos I've seen and stuff like that, I really liked her style. Not following the rules, being, having crazy ideas, all that kind of stuff. And once we got together in a room, it just flowed so easy. There was just, at any point of the day, we were working on a tone, we're working on what instrument should go in here and there, blah, blah, blah. And half the time we just read each other's thoughts. It's like I'd worked with her for years and years, and essentially we just worked, for 3 weeks together. The final product was exactly what I was hearing. I wanted this massive rock album, and tone was everything. The drums are huge, the room sounds are, really delicate and lush. Bass sounds, I just would turn some knob or something like that, and Sylvia would be like, yeah, there you go, and it was all just perfect. And then Sylvia's mixes at the end of the day were, I think the first drafts were just like practically there. We had a few things to say about it, and then it was perfect.
Meeting Christian for the first time, I had been working with this guy for quite some time. I had barely even I didn't even know what he looked like. I didn't even know he was in Mexico. I think I was told that, but I spaced it out, and it's just like when we started to get to know each other more over the phone, it just struck me as being really cool and bizarre that he was so far away. Here I am on my way to record in Mexico with Sylvia Massy in some 300-year-old hacienda, and create this masterpiece album with a guy I had never met in person. So meeting him for the first time, I was so giddy, and it felt like I had known this guy my whole life.
Oh shit!
Oh baby, what's going on? Hey, look at that. Reunited and it's understood. So one of the things I love about working with Christian was his ability to get things done pretty quickly and do an amazing job of that. And we got it to the point where we were knocking out one song per week, and that was a lot of work to write and do and produce and do all that stuff in such a short amount of time. And we kind of had a thing going where we pushed each other to kind of get it done. So, it would be week after week after week. We kept doing song after song after song, to the point where we started to get a little capped at our amount of songs that we were doing. Like, this, are we done yet? Is this good enough for a demo? And I think we had gotten to 21 songs in 21 weeks, and we just kind of wrote it out and decided to do 30 songs in 30 weeks. And man, I'm so grateful the fact that we actually took our time to push it. I think there was a point there when we had gotten this stuff to Sylvia and she wanted to hear more, and that's when we just kind of took it up a notch and wrote some of our best stuff was during that period after she had heard the stuff. And I think that was after the 21 songs.
And then once rehearsals started, we were there in the same room working every note, and so it just came together really quick. We rehearsed instrumental for about 3-4 days before Toby got to Mexico, and then we rehearsed a couple more days with Toby, and by the end of those rehearsals, I even told the guys, I was like, we could play we could play a show right now. We could start touring.
We did the main tracking in sort of a lounge area at the hacienda. And then I did a lot of overdubbing in a cathedral that was at the hacienda that had just reverb for days. It was probably the loudest noises I've ever got to make, and they were recorded beautifully. So I'm really excited about it. It's come a long way from, my garage in Oakland.
We saw a little nest with two little eggs in a palm tree right outside what would be the tracking room. And there were hummingbird eggs. They hatched right around the time Sylvia arrived, and they kept on growing. There were two little babies the whole time that we were there recording. So they kind of were with us for the whole time we recorded the album, and it was a really interesting analogy. It was an interesting analogy to us building something from a tiny little seed to where it was finished. And then Sylvia was also a fantastic painter, also got inspired and built and painted the first drafts of what our logo would be like and our record cover would be like, and then sent us a record cover, and that was all Sylvia's design. And we all thought it was a really cool sign, a really cool relationship we had with the birds.
So the lyrics and concept behind Pearl were based on a couple things. I was on the floor in my kitchen, and I was trying to muster up some imagery, and I continued to see the same image of a guy, probably me, walking into the water to end his life, to drown, and having this epiphany where there was hope and letting go of the weight of it all, and deciding not to go through with it, and then walking out of the water with sand in his hands, and just this like impactful, emotional, like just kind of very cinematic moment, and so that's where I started with this image, and then from there I went into my own personal stuff about my struggles with depression, and some of the daily things that I face, and how I overcome those things throughout each day, but yet it continues to be this thing that's always kind of prominent in my life. So the song is about seeing beauty in things and not dwelling on the darkness of all the things that kind of seem to be consistent, and trying to find a way to let go, and doing so getting the benefits of that process, and then the world starts to open up for us, or for me, and it's really about the art of letting go, regardless of I know I entered some words about a father figure and a claw of the father, so that's like handed down abuse, not to me personally, but just for those in pain and struggling. It's just we can overcome anything with help and reaching out and letting go.
I think it's an excellent first release for us. It has hooks, it's heavy, it's beautiful.
It went better than all of us expected. I think we were really excited to make this record sound amazing.
We have this amazing album coming out, Swoon, and we're all super excited about it.